You guys have no idea how painful it was for me to watch And Just Like That. It took me almost 2 weeks to get through the first season, and when I was about to start the second, I just couldn't. I had to stop completely and rewrite the essay I was preparing for this week's video. In an era where revivals and reboots are everywhere, do we really need a continuation of the lives of Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte? Sure. For a show like Sex and the City, which revolves around relationships and both sexual and emotional expression, getting insight into what our three favorite girls think now could be interesting, maybe even refreshing. But did it help the legacy of the original show, or just bury it deeper into the ground? So I watched And Just Like That, well, some of And Just Like That, and today we're going to find out whether this show still holds any relevance for a new generation. And Just Like That suffers from an identity crisis, where Sex and the City was bold, imperfect, and rooted in real, if sometimes glamorized friendships and relationships, its sequel feels like it's walking on eggshells. The revival tries so hard to correct the past racial blind spots and lack of LGBTQ representation and body politics that loses its vibrancy and spontaneity that made the original show so timeless. And instead of integrating these elements naturally, the show often feels like it's taking boxes from a performative inclusivity checklist. Characters like the new friends are underdeveloped, placed seemingly as props to prove the original women aren't racist or out of touch, but rarely given the dimensionality or storyline depth they deserve. The modern lingo and heavy-handed quote-unquote woke framing feels forced and dated. The show seems more like it's responding to online think pieces and TikTok criticisms than telling a story. Ironically, in trying to be progressive, it often ends up alienating the very audience it wants to uplift, especially when progressive elements are reduced to shallow symbolisms. J. Diaz, in particular, becomes a lightning rod for this. They are meant to represent queerness and nonconformity, but instead come across as a caricature, overbearing, unfunny, and almost defined solely by their queerness rather than any nuanced human experience they may have.
Jeremy, party of five? Excuse me.
Carrie not speaking to the audience anymore is a major loss. That voiceover was more than a narrative device. It was our bridge to her psyche and to the thread tying plotlines and themes together. Her podcast performance, particularly her discomfort discussing sex, feels deeply uncharacteristic for a woman who built her career writing about it, and even more for a woman who had a friend like Samantha for most of her life. Grief over Mr. Big's death is poignant and well acted. But the sudden, healthy evolution of their relationship after years of dysfunction feels unearned. Why are the writers telling me that I should believe in a story about their undying love for each other after everything Big put Carrie through? And I'm not even talking about the show itself. I'm talking about the things that happen in their marriage during the first and the second movies. It feels like an unnatural progression that will feel more fluid if they would have gotten divorced years ago instead of them pretending to be the perfect couple until his death. Mr. Big leaving $1 million to Natasha reopens old wounds, again putting Carrie in detective mode for closure that never quite satisfies, and showing at the same time that the woman obsessed with her competition never truly grew out of that behavior. Why is the show so desperately trying to make us forget the 10 years of misery Carrie had with Mr. Big by using every other character to emphasize how much he loved her? It's like they were trying to erase any glimpse of behavior that made Carrie cling and fight desperately for what was evidently a lost cause, and to make her grief for Mr. Big more justified than what it actually should be.
I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy.
Miranda's arc is both fascinating and frustrating. Her dissatisfaction with domestic life and later self-discovery could have been a brilliant through line, especially given hints of her queerness in the original series. But reading that entire transformation in her relationship with Che flattens it. The show misses a chance to make her sexual awakening about her, rather than being swept away by a new partner. Her transformation into a self-righteous, insecure version of herself feels like a betrayal of the grounded, razor-sharp character we knew. That she ditches her career, family, and life in pursuit of his new identity without nuance is disappointing. Kay and Miranda have no real chemistry. They feel as forced as the queerness Che tries to imprint into the screen. What could have been a deeper exploration into what heteronormativity pushed down the throat of a woman who was meant to explore her sexual identity in a more fluid way became a story in which this very same woman abandons every trace of agency she had to go after her queer lover that makes her feel so quote-unquote alive. I believe I'm not the only one who was expecting so much more development from Miranda's story. She was done so dirty in the original show that she deserved a self-discovery story that was handled with much more grace and care than the one she had on screen.
I don't feel like a girl.
Sometimes I don't feel like a girl either.
Charlotte, ironically, ends up being one of the most emotionally mature characters. Her response to her daughter's gender exploration is sweet, supportive, and layered. It makes perfect sense that the most traditionally feminine character would be forced to confront and grow through modern expressions of identity. Her storyline could have been trite, but ends up being one of the most grounded of them all.
And where's the fourth musketeer? Where's Samantha?
The show tries to explain away Samantha's absence, but the logic doesn't hold. Fans know that Samantha would never go scary over something so petty. The explanation underestimates the depth of their friendship. Even her graceful handling of Big's death is not enough to fill the gaping hole her character left behind. Every scene she's not in reminds us of how much she brought to the dynamic. Her absence is not just noticeable, it's damaging. And knowing all the drama behind Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall, the constant text between Carrie and Samantha feel less like a good friendship that was lost, and more like an intimidation tactic to push Kim Cattrall into Samantha's shoes at the request of Sarah Jessica Parker. The new characters introduced, Lisa, Naya, and Seema, are interesting in theory but underdeveloped in practice. Their stories are relevant. Infertility, career burnout, navigating race and class, but they are introduced as plot devices rather than individuals. Without depth, their inclusion feels tokenistic, and a misstep for a show that so badly wants to be seen as progressive. Just like that, wants to evolve Sex and the City into a show for today's world. But in doing so, it sacrificed the messiness, the flaws, and the honesty that made the original series resonate. Yes, we've changed in 25 years, but human connection, friendship, and desire still matter. Instead of building on those themes with genuine care, the show feels like a sterile, overcorrected reboot afraid of its own past. It took me so long to finish this video because I couldn't feel connected to them. The show is hard to watch because it feels disingenuous and unnecessary. It feels like so many revivals these days. What once was an innovative and fun idea becomes a painful reminder that rehashing old stories in a new setting rarely works, especially when it's driven by greed and a desperate grasp of fading relevance. And yes, I'm looking at you, Sarah Jessica Parker. Your need to stay in the spotlight is slowly destroying what little grace the Sex and the City universe had left. If you love this show, good for you. But for me, it's like eating the poorly cooked leftovers of what once was a great meal, unsatisfying and disappointing. What's the point of including more races and identities if the show doesn't give those characters the depth and grace they deserve? Sure, we have 2 black women, 1 Latina, and 1 Indian character. But at best, they are underdeveloped, and at worst, they are unbearable and one-dimensional. And yes, I'm talking about Che Diaz. What's the point of reviving the stories of women we once loved and admired, only to turn them into characters who show no coherent growth, or worse, regress into outdated dynamics we thought they had long since overcome? Why rewrite the story of a flawed but beloved group just to make them unrecognizable, all for another 50 minutes of fame? If continuing this story means sacrificing the development, charm, and joy the original show had, then I'd rather rewind and watch Carrie trying to figure out how to have sex like a man again. Thank you very much.
How the hell did we get into this mess?
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Bye bye!